all you have to do is plug 0.08 in for R and calculate. Now, just as I said earlier, I thought it was easier to take the R divided by 12 and write it as 1/12 R. I now think it's easier to take it and put it back. Again, you don't have to. You can do the calculation with it just as it is, but I think the calculation's easier if you just put it back the way it was. Multiplying by 1/12 is the same as dividing by 12. If you plug the 0.08 in now, I think you'll find it easier. You have to get used to using your calculator. I'm going to just leave this formula and talk about how to do problems like that. So let's just leave that particular problem right now and talk about the calculator usage. That power key, the X to the Y key, is what lets you raise a number to a power. For example, if I wanted to raise 4 to the 3rd power, I would type in the 4, press the X to the Y key, the power key, and then type in 3, and then hit equal to, and that would give me 4 times 4 times 4, which is what 4 cubed is. It's 64. That's how you raise a number to a power. It's also possible, and rather than doing it step by step and writing down intermediate steps, you can usually do this all in one flow in the calculator without having to write down intermediate steps. Remember, with this calculator, you don't have a programmable calculator where you can type everything in just as it looks. You have to work a little harder, but it's not hard. So what you want to do to calculate something like, and again, I'm just making up an example. What if you wanted to calculate the quantity 100 times 1 plus 3/7 to the 5th? Then what you would do is you start, I like to say you start on the inside and work your way out. So you start with that 3/7. You want to divide 3 by 7. That's this part, 3 divided by 7. When you press 3 divided by 7, the answer pops into the display right away. So now you want to add 1 to it. You divided 3 by 7, so now you want to add 1 to it, so it's plus 1. Now when you put plus 1 into the calculator, all you see in the display is 1, and that means it hasn't done the calculation yet. So you have to press the equal sign to make it do the calculation. So that's the next keystroke. Now you've done the entire base. You've done the 1 plus 3/7, so now you're ready to raise it to the 5th power. So that means you have to hit the power button, say that it's a power of 5, and again in the display you just see the 5 you pressed in. That tells you you have to press equal to for it to do the calculation. So as soon as you press equal to, it will do the base raised to the power. In other words, it'll do everything except times it by 100. So the last thing we have to do is times it by 100. And again, when you press 100, that's all that stays in the display. That tells you that it hasn't done the calculation yet. But pressing equal to will force it to do the entire calculation. And when you press that last equal to, you will get to the nearest cent, 594.99. In other words, $594.99. And it said to round it to 2 decimal places, so that's why I'm doing 0.99. Now, can you apply that to this problem? Well, sure you can. You take the same strategy, you start on the inside, the fractions, you take 0.08 and divide by 12. Let's get to that. So you take the 0.08 and divide it by 12. That's this. You can see that it did the division in the display, so you don't need to press equal, although it doesn't hurt anything to press equal. The next thing you want to do is add 1 to that, so you put plus 1. The 1 is still sitting in the display. That tells you that it hasn't done the calculation yet, so now you have to press equal to. That'll tell you the value of 1 plus 0.08 divided by 12. In other words, it'll tell you the value of the base. So now you want to raise it to the 59th power, so you press the power key and then type in 59, and the 59 just sits there. That tells you it hasn't done the calculation yet, so you have to press equal to, and that'll give you the result of raising that base to that power. The only thing you haven't done now is multiply by 10,000. So now you do times 10,000. And again, the 10,000 is sitting in the display. That tells you that it hasn't done the calculation yet. So your last step is to press equal to. And when you do that and round it to the nearest cent, you'll get $14,799.79. You have to practice this stuff. You cannot just do it once and say, okay, I've got it. You have to practice. It's very easy just to enter the whole thing into your calculator, and I'll show you how. It involves the parentheses key. You've got the left and right parens that sit about midway of your calculator buttons. How do you use it? Well, I would suggest that you actually write out what you're going to type in before you even start to minimize the mistakes, and I think I can explain to you why that might be helpful. If you look at this problem, these are the keystrokes, and if you write them out before you even start typing them in, you're less likely to make mistakes. So for instance, the first thing I'm going to do is enter 2,000. That's the principal. Now if you look at the formula, there's no multiplication symbol. There's an implied multiplication. When you put a number next to parentheses in our normal writing of things, that's an implied multiplication. If you go ahead and write down times before you start typing it in, you're less likely to forget to press the multiplication key. If you don't press that multiplication key, you're not going to get the right answer. So even though there's no multiplication symbol in the original formula, when you write a number next to a left paren, that's implied multiplication. So it might be a good idea to actually write that out. And then you see the left paren, so you press the left paren button on your calculator, then you type in 1, then you type in plus, then you type in 0.04, then you hit the division key, then you type in 4, then you type the right paren. Now here's another place you might forget if you're not careful. That 12 is an exponent, so you have to press the exponentiation key on your calculator, or the power key, and that is the X to the Y button. And if you look on your calculator, it's one of those buttons above the red clear and all clear buttons in your calculator. Press that power key. That tells the calculator that you're about to type in an exponent. Once you press the power key, now you can enter 12. And then to make the evaluation of the expression complete, you press equal. And if you do all of those things, you will end up with $2,253.65006. And if you round that off to the nearest cents, that will be 65 cents. So it would be $2,253.65 rounded to the nearest cent.